You're watching Impact, a program brought to you from the Church of Christ. If you have any questions or comments about Impact, let us know. We may be reached by phone at 931-363-2777 or by mail in care of Impact, P.O. Box 329, Pulaski, Tennessee 38478. Thank you for joining us today. We would love to hear from you. And welcome back. So we've seen a reminder through the resurrection. In the second place, Peter would be specifically reminded through what I'm calling restoration. And for this we go to verses 15 through 17 of John 21. Again, we'll put it on the screen for you to view. So when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. So Jesus said, Feed my lambs. He saith to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith to him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? And Peter was grieved because the Lord had asked him 3 times, Lovest thou me? And he said to him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus saith unto him, Feed my sheep. Do you remember in Matthew chapter 26, one occasion when Jesus was talking to His disciples, and He was talking about how eventually there would come a time when they might be tempted to deny Him, and even some would forsake Him. And Peter sort of confidently and boldly steps up and says, Lord, I'll never do that to you. In fact, I will fight for the death, until the death for you. And Jesus says, before this night is over, before the rooster crows, you will have denied me 3 times. Sure enough, I dropped down in Matthew 26 to about verses 69 through 75, and I read there how Peter 3 different times, even to the point of cursing, I don't know this man, he said, 3 times. Well, here in John 21, 3 different times, Jesus asks the question, Simon, son of Jonas, do you love me? I wonder why he would do that. There are some interesting points that commentators have noted throughout the years as they've been debating this particular verse. For example, have you noticed that he calls him Simon, son of Jonas, instead of Peter? Peter was a name that Jesus had given to Simon when he first met him on those occasions. I can read that in the books of Mark as well as the first part of John, but you know, I wonder why Peter was not called Peter or Rock here. Well, maybe it was because he wasn't acting very much like someone who had that rock-solid foundation as he had in time past. So he calls him by his more proper name, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? It's interesting there, and perhaps you've heard this sort of conversation as well. The original language there is very interesting. Jesus says, Simon, son of Jonas, do you agapao me? And Peter responds, Lord, yes, I phileo you. They use 2 different words there. They're translated the same word in our English language, but Jesus says, do you agapao me? And Simon says, I phileo you. They're a little bit different. Agapao love is a type of love that is more centered around my own choices and my desires to do that. In fact, listen, we'll put on the screen for you what Brother Guy in Wood says. He was a Greek scholar, and he says this about the word. Agapao was a term indicating strong devotion of high order. But when Peter says, Yea, Lord, you know I love you, he used the word phileo, a word denoting the humbler, warmer emotion growing out of kinship or close association. The former words clearly suggest a high order of reverence and respect. It can be exercised by the will of another. It's subject to command and a choice. It may be made whether it will be indulged in or not. Jesus says, do you agapao me? Simon says, Lord, I phileo you. Brother Woods would go on to say, it's not really a matter of one being stronger than the other. They just mean different things. Well, I wonder why Jesus and Peter would use different words. Maybe this is sort of a reminder for Peter. Peter realizes that in times past, he sort of said things, but he didn't back them up. Lord, I will fight for you even to the death. And then just a little bit later, he ate those words 3 different times, totally denying the Lord, totally going back on everything that he said to Jesus. And yet now, Jesus says to him, Simon, do you love me? That's interesting. This was something, no doubt, Peter was thinking in his mind, and I bet he remembered. You know, there was that time when I denied my Lord 3 different times. But now through this restoration process, Jesus is going to give him the opportunity 3 different times to pronounce his love for him. But this must have been painful for Peter. Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? The first 2 times, Simon, do you agapao me? Simon says, Lord, I phileo you. Again, Simon, do you agapao me? Lord, I phileo you. But the 3rd time, Simon, do you phileo me? Simon grieved in his heart. Why was he so sad? He must have known. He must have realized, I've messed up in the past. And now Jesus is asking me this question, are you going to back up the things that you've said? Are you really going to live the way that you say that you're living? Are you going to show in your activities, not just lip service to me, Jesus is saying, but are you going to, by your own activity, show others that you love me? Do you mean what you say? Simon, do you phileo me? Simon says, Lord, I phileo you. He meant what he said. It's interesting there. Notice the response then that Jesus gives. Simon, do you agapao me? Lord, you know I phileo you. And then he says there in verse 15, feed my lambs. Verse 16, do you agapao me? Lord, I phileo you. Jesus' response, feed my sheep. Finally, in verse 17, Jesus says, do you phileo me? Simon says, Lord, I phileo you. Feed my sheep. Seems to be another sort of reminder here. We know in John chapter 10, Jesus would use that illustration, I am the good shepherd, and those who are my sheep hear my voice, and they follow me. But notice that Jesus tells Peter that both lambs and sheep need to be fed. The word lamb there denotes young, immature sort of individual. New Christians need to be reminded. But guess what? Then he says in verses 16 and 17, feed my sheep. The mature individuals, the mature followers of Jesus also need to be reminded. You see, there never comes a point in our Christian walks when we are not needing to be reminded of some things. And so Peter, even during this period of reminding, is told through this process of restoration, Jesus says, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Back it up. And if you do, feed, tend, and feed my sheep and my lambs. Impact is on YouTube. Visit our online program archives today at www.youtube.com/impactarchives. All of our programs are available there, and everything is absolutely free. While you're there, click the subscribe button so you can have fast access to our YouTube channel in the future. Again, that's youtube.com/impactarchives.